Hi, so it's time for my weekly book review. Um, so I'm going to start with this one called Nuance to be Celebrated. Nuance to be Celebrated is a book written by a woman who has only read about 3 chapter books in her whole life. So you can kind of you can kind of tell, which is awesome. She does say which chapter books they are somewhere in here. Let's see. There's a list. Not a very long one, obviously. It's 3 titles long. Caddie Woodlawn, which is, I guess, a story about a girl who lived a long time ago and had friends that lived with her. Let's see. So Caddie Woodlawn. Sorry, I just noticed another thing in the book that I wanted to mention. For the Forest and the Trees, which I guess is a book about forests and trees. And My Mother's Heels is a book about a transgendered person that is about coming to terms with their sexuality as an adolescent. So those are the 3 books that she read through the course of her adolescence and early 20s. And then I guess by the time she was in her 30s, she stopped reading altogether. I mean, she read articles and things, magazines, I guess, but she stopped reading altogether because she felt like she didn't want to have other people's thoughts in her head. She actually became kind of schizophrenic, and she was afraid of reading because she couldn't trust that the thoughts that she was having were thoughts that she should be having, and was afraid that people were trying to implant her mind with messages from, I don't know, another kingdom or something. So she went through this process of not reading anything. She wouldn't read online articles. She stopped going on the internet. She would kind of block her vision when it came to seeing text out in the world. And after about 2 years of doing this in her 30s, she decided that she wanted to start to write again, to just journal. And she felt like as long as she were writing, she could read. So that motivated her to write more, because she was writing so much that she was enjoying going back and reading what she wrote from like previous weeks, previous months, because she was being so prolific with the quality of what she was writing and the quantity of what she was writing. It was just coming to her, and because she was doing it so rapidly, when she'd go back and she'd read something from weeks prior, it was like reading a book that she didn't remember, exactly what she wrote. So it was really intriguing to her, and she didn't want anybody else to be editing her work, because it kind of, she still was having trust issues. I think she got over her schizophrenia type symptoms. It was almost like she had a psychotic break. She wasn't schizophrenic, but she had like some episodes that really looked a lot like symptoms of that. Anyway, so she didn't want anyone else to read or edit. But what she did was she stopped writing altogether so she could go and just kind of compile everything. She put it all together into a manuscript, sent it off, and it was published within a year. And she was able to make another book deal from that, and is like now doing very well for herself, having never really read anything on her own, but is writing. So isn't that interesting? I thought so too. definitely check out her book, and her poetry is also really interesting. I have a book of poetry right here. It's called "What's Done Is Done, Is Done Is Done, Is Done to Us." Interesting. So, all right, time for my second book to review. This one is called "Trifles in the Wisdom of a Wired Grimm." So this one is basically a book of nonsense. However, there's this thread that goes throughout, and you start to like pick up just enough from page to chapter to kind of hook you into thinking that something's going to happen, which is not true. Nothing ever happens except that you become sort of obsessed with why you think something's going to happen. That's the magic of this book. It makes you look at yourself and go like, what is it about this thread that has made you crazy enough to invest your time in a book that isn't giving you anything except for a thread that's driving you absolutely crazy? You're tying yourself up with it. It's a red magical thread. And by the end of the book, you don't know anything more about the book. You don't know anything more about the red thread. But you do know something more about yourself, which is something like, I have an obsessive personality, or I am intrigued with red threads, or, that's nothing that really gives you a lot of information, but it's definitely eye-opening to see what you're capable of being manipulated by. Okay, so I have one more book. Okay. Rose Cotton and Panties from the Basement. The title says it all, pretty much. Right? It's both light and dark, filled with beautiful moments of splendorous vulnerability, the cottony pink of the panties, and then the basement, the darkness, the cold, the dampness, the desolate spaces that we have within us that are often forgotten, and they're not often visited frequently enough to change, or they're not often filled with enough warmth, because there aren't enough hearts pumping blood in those spaces to create body heat in those spaces. It's depressing. I wouldn't recommend that one, actually. Definitely, if you are interested in writing really dark things, I think the author, whose name is Rose McGill, she definitely you can learn something about how to be creepy from reading Rose McGill's work. I don't think I mentioned the names of the other authors. You'll have to Google that. Let me Google that for you. Bye.